Nick John from Glovebox Live interviews Steve Knightley and Phil Beer from Show of Hands before their gig at the New Theatre in Oxford.
This land is barren and broken, scarred like the face of the moon. Our tongue no longer spoken, the towns all around face ruin.
Show of Hands is a trio with a difference for this tour, with Cormac Byrne coming in from Seth Lakeman's band on percussion.
Yeah.
What extra dimension does he bring to the songs?
I wanted to work with Cormac for about 5 years, but he's been tied up really with Seth's whole structure. And I think Seth doing the Robert Plant thing for 2 years now gave us a window of opportunity. To be honest, it's added a lot more than I thought. Really, it's quite changed the whole dynamic of the show. It's like a power trio.
Yeah.
It's like a power. It's almost we never planned to do it without Miranda, but in a funny sort of way, it's redrawn our landscape a bit, so that when we tuck her back in, we'll have something up and running. Really.
Do you think you'll ever see a tour that you have Miranda and Cormac?
Yeah, we're hoping to do that next autumn.
Because that was my first thought, having seen the Manchester show.
Yeah.
It felt slightly different.
I
thought, wow.
Had Miranda been on this tour, Cormac would have played along with us. But now, because it's me and Phil, he's at the absolute heart of it. And now we know how to tuck the bass back onto it again. So it's
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
I was wondering whether you had tailored the set, knowing he was there, in the way you did songs.
Because we're doing about 5 new songs, they don't have anything to compare it to. So that's good. And the ones that we do, Santiago and Cousin Jack and Galway Farmer, they're sort of obvious percussion ones anyway, in a way. We have recorded Santiago with that type of conga beat that Cormac sets up. But I think not having the bass has given me the space to listen to what he's doing and to play less. So
did you consciously rearrange some of the old songs with him in mind, or did you just let, when you rehearsed and you played with him, it just kind of happened?
There's a natural heartbeat to most of what we do, and we don't do many sort of we don't do much of that sort of stuff. A lot of the rhythms that I chunk away at have always been quite rocky. So finding the heartbeat on them, particularly the lower end thump that comes off my percussion, he just replicates that, means I don't have to do it so much. And it's just been very symbiotic, very natural. Worked very well.
For me, it added. I've seen you a lot over the years,
yeah.
And it added another dimension, another texture in there.
It adds. It finds something that's already there and amplifies it. Because we do play quite loud, and we can rock it up with the three of us acoustically. But this just adds something that drum kit wouldn't do.
Yeah,
it'd be very different. There's something about the voicing of his instruments. It's above bass drum and snare, and it's woody and texture and skin, and it just fits. Yeah, it's been a natural fit.
So follow me down, Cousin Jack. The soil was too poor to make Eden.
Santiago, for example, it's got that. It's a world music rhythm, that sort of conga type percussion, but this nails it and puts it firmly in that area, whereas we suggest it. And there's a few others like that. But plus the fact we're doing a reggae song and we're doing a Bhangra beat,
Yeah. And they're both new songs.
Yeah, they're both new songs, and nobody's got anything to compare. They can't compare it with other versions. And we do a straightforward, almost like a Coldplay groove, really. One good, You'll Get By, which is almost like yellow you know. So
I actually thought of the new ones you did at Manchester.
Yeah.
That was, to me, lovely song, but it was the most familiar type of sounding song from your repertoire.
It is.
I straight away thought that's a Steve song.
It is. It's got a fairly predictable chords, but the theme very much has touched people. So it's going to be quite a big song, I think. But it's firmly in that AIG, rootsy sort of area, without a doubt.
Do you find yourself moving on? AIG is a good thing to mention. Things haven't changed. But if things did, do you find sometimes you look back at songs that have perhaps more socially relevant lyrics or politically relevant lyrics and think, I can't do that anymore or anything? Does that ever happen? It doesn't really happen, does it, unfortunately?
No, I mean, I think if you did something about maybe people crossing the Mediterranean in boats, specifically, and they weren't doing it anymore, it might seem like a look back. But things like AIG, and they just go country life. People still can't afford to live in their own villages, can they? Yeah. Still can't afford to...
no, it hasn't changed.
No, all that sort of stuff is very... Which is good for the song, but bad for the rest of us in a way.
Working in the rain, cutting up wood, didn't do my little brother much good. Lost 2 fingers in a chainsaw bite. All he does now is drink and fight. Sells a bit of grass, hunts up cars, talks of trouble, never gets far. Loves his kids, left his wife, an everyday story of country life.
With the new material, when you're looking, I think, at tour recording in spring.
Yeah, next year.
So when you take new stuff out on a tour before you're recording, you're kind of road testing the material. Do you ever take a conscious decision about how the audience reacts to new songs over a whole tour? Does that ever influence what you record? What you decide to
When you haven't recorded it, if you go straight away and record it, then you play it live for 2 years. After 2 years, it's so much better. All the little bits and pieces you've changed and noodled. You know, I think it's always best to gig most of what you're going to record, to be perfectly honest. You know the way that bands lock themselves away and they generate an entire new album, which has never been heard before. I'm amazed that people can do that. But I wouldn't be very confident about that, to be honest.
I suppose you have to be very confident about your audience, don't you?
Yeah.
It's still there after when you come out of the studio. If it's still there.
Yeah, well, and also the last thing people want to hear, particularly at a festival, is a bunch of new songs.
And the red brick cottage where I was born is the empty shell of a holiday home. Most of the year there's no one there. The village is dead and they don't care.
So the new album's going to be called Joint Ventures.
That was the original title, yeah.
You still going to do with that? Or
yeah, well, it was going to have more collaborations on, but there might be some more come out of the woodwork. There's a possibility of a London DJ guy who might, I've got one with Johnny Kelsey already, Mother Tongue, but there might be a couple more.
I wondered if you were going to record First We Take Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was going to say, that was one thing about the Manchester set that I was faultless, apart from you forgetting Leonard Cohen had died.
Well, that awful.
You handled it quite well.
I've got a very...
Phil, you didn't let him off the hook, though, did you?
He died that night, 2 years ago.
Oh no, really?
Or a year ago, 2 years ago.
Oh, I wouldn't have known that, but...
Not only that, but somebody said...
That's a great version. I mean,
somebody said that they loved it, but I'm such a fan, and my wife and I, Leonard Cohen, that we were already feeling very sad at his loss. And is he dead? Oh, is he dead?
Yeah, you ruined that night out. Yeah.
Keith, you're dead. No, I'm not.
Another thing, Manchester, Phil, Galway Farmer. How fast can it go?
Too fast is the answer.
I've heard you explain that.
It can lose its meaning. Yes, it was a bit quick on that particular day.
What's the tune? The tune set that you did earlier in the set.
Yeah, it's three.
I can't remember the title.
Two old and one new tune of mine. It's the third tune goes way back to our early. It's on one of our early recordings. It's on the EP that's got Columbus on it, and then Gwenup's relatively new, and a friend of ours, a little singer from Bridport, died quite some time ago, and that's her tune, Jenny's Waltz, Jenny Billett. So, Gwenup's relatively new. It's been in my solo set for a while, one set of tunes.
Wonderfully suited to the percussion.
Oh yeah.
Really
well, it's perfect. You go through a
along.
waltz, a jig, and a reel, in quite quick succession. So it kind of does show off. We couldn't not do it, with having a percussionist of his sort of capability. You kind of have to, really, don't you?
No, that's brilliant. It was a wonderful set. So it was one of the shows.
I spotted you towards.
I wonder what you did.
No, I
did.
You were down there, yeah.
Yeah, no, I had my son with me as well. He comes, who now has seen you 4 or 5 times as well. So that's great. One quick question, guys. Individually, out left field. Don't think about it too much. What's the one album you take to the desert island with you?
Of ours or
no, of someone else's. Well, you can take one of your own if you want.
Freewheeling Bob Dylan.
That'd be it. Yeah. Phil.
It's an oddity, but it probably would be still crazy after all these years. For an odd set of reasons, really. It's it's not even that anything more than the title track is that influential. It's a Paul Simon landmark, and I particularly relate to a lot of stuff that's on the album. He went off to college for 3 years to learn how to read, write music, and arrange. And then came back and did everything on that album, So that's why it was such a sea change, But that's still crazy. The song is in one of the top 10 everyone's favourite best song in the world, sort of.
I was wrong. I guessed at Davy Graham.
No, and it's a close run thing, but you kind of. I don't know, I suppose it's simply because it's more commercial. That's actually partly the reason. So, no, it probably, it would be a close drawn thing in actual practice, David Graham was the album that one learned to play by.
Thick as a Brick would be close.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're thinking about it now. And that's the trouble with that sort of question. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much.
So follow me down, Cousin Jack.
Come on.
Follow me down, Cousin Jack. Follow me down.
Thank you very much.
That was a broadcast production by gloveboxlive.uk.
Thank you very much indeed.